So to recolor this artwork, first off, we could just click on the objects and then with the fill tool, choose a new color. But Illustrator does present an easier way of doing it, and that's the colorizing tool. So if we select the whole object, sorry, I have forgotten where colorizing lives. Sorry, I'll just look it up really quick. I know it exists. Oh, I wonder, can I just search it? Illustrator does have a search. Sorry. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Oh, Recolor, maybe it's called Recolor. Okay, the Recolor artwork on the control palettes, which is represented by a color wheel. Sorry, total brain fart. Oh, okay, here it is. So with this object selected, and this is the problem with taking notes on the computer is, I guess you could screenshot this, but it's hard to draw the picture. So it looks like a color wheel, and it's up in this control panel, which is the top panel, which you won't have if you're not in the layout function. So you have to, in the upper right, it normally starts on Essentials. It says Essentials up here, but we want to be on Layout. Okay, so with it selected, we choose the Colorizer, the Recolor Artwork button. And it shows us our neat palette of 5 colors. So again, we could just start choosing new colors to go in here. We can double click on them in there and we can adjust and hit OK, and it changes it on here. And it has a few different ways of changing it. So you can choose for it to be exactly the color that you're going to pick. You can also choose for it to preserve tints and preserve scales. I normally choose exact because I don't want to mess around with it, like trying to keep the tint of it or the tone, which these are just color words that Illustrator and Photoshop use. And there's no way to step backwards in the Recolor Artwork function, like Control Z does nothing, which is annoying. So I'm actually going to hit cancel and choose Recolor Artwork again to start back fresh. So I don't have to deal with that green. So you can assign colors. You can also edit colors on the left in kind of a more interesting way. And if we choose link harmony colors over here, so this is like a lock, it's going to lock the proportions of all of these colors to one another. And when we rotate them around, it kind of keeps those same tones to each other, which is kind of interesting. So if you had things that were specifically like darker or specifically lighter colors, it would keep all of those, and it would also keep the color relationships. So you would always have those same color relationships. So this is pretty interesting, and this is also where you can change like kind of saturation and brightness. So you can lower the saturation overall, lower the brightness overall, and end up with just really weird popsicle colors. Oh, that one's kind of nice. And yeah, see, it's assigned the new colors over here, and I'm actually going to change them all to exact, so it really keeps it. You can also choose from specific types of color relationships that it offers you, and it will assign colors from that color relationship. So this is a color that you've chosen, probably. It's the color that's selected right now, so I bet we could choose this color. Yep, and see, that is now that purple. And now all of these relationships should relate to the purple. I don't know why that didn't work. Anyway, there's no going backwards. Oh, you then have to choose it to be the base color over here. But sometimes these color harmonies can be helpful when trying to choose. So, oh, now we only have 5 colors, and this is possible. This is also how you reduce the number of colors in a work, which we'll get to when we start manipulating our own illustrations and stuff in our own paintings. So I am going to hit cancel again, actually, and I'm just going to adjust it a little bit. Maybe we want a darker version or a more saturated version. There. So I changed it a little bit anyway. And for homework tonight, you have to create a color story, and you're going to do that by creating a palette in Illustrator. So we're also going to make a palette. So over here in Swatches, we have a limited number of swatches here, but over in the left-hand corner of the Swatches panel, boop, 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 on this little library, it looks like a stack of books kind of that are leaning together. We can choose from all of these other palettes first off. So we can choose scientific colors that are complementary, and it shows us all of these pairings, but there are more useful ones than that in there. There's also nature and skin tones, which is huge. Skin tones is super helpful, and you can assign these just like you do your swatches panel. So when you have something selected, you just choose from the swatches and it applies. But we can also make our own libraries, okay? So to do that though, we actually have to, will that work? Huh. Okay, so we can add swatches in a couple ways. When you have a color selected, so when you have an object selected, its color is also selected generally. So if we wanted to add that color to our swatches, we can just choose the new swatch button. Okay? And it says, what do you want to name this color? And if you want to, it can be helpful to name it like, you know, Bomb Pop Red or whatever. And it shows up, oh, that time it showed up in this folder, but normally they show up in this kind of general section. And then I'm going to delete this folder for now. So you could add all of them individually that way by choosing new. Or if we select a shape with multiple colors in it, so I'm selecting the whole thing, and if I choose new color group, which is this little folder symbol, instead, it's going to ask me, how do you want to create the color group? Do you want to create it from swatches you've selected, which you could do, or you can do from selected artwork. And I'm not sure what include swatches for tints means, but we can hit OK, and it makes a new folder with all of the colors in it from your color palette. Now, if we wanted to save this as a swatch library, right? First off, we would probably want to remove all of the other swatches. So to do that, you can select the folders by clicking on the folder, and it selects all of them at once, and you can drag them to the trash can in the bottom right-hand corner of that palette. But for these single ones, oops, make sure nothing is selected. What we can do is we can select the first one and then hold Shift and select the last one, and it selects all of them, just like you're working in folders. And trash them. And how are we doing on time? Late, I suppose. Yeah. They're right on time-ish. Okay. And now to save this as a library that we could access other times, we can go to the library button down here and choose Save Swatches. And it saves it as a swatch file, which is star.ai, I think, or maybe it's just .ai and it knows it's a swatch file. But I would name it very clearly like Bomb Pop Swatch Library. And hit Save. And now on another panel, if we go in here, it's not just gonna, oh, it did show up right away. Oh, I saved it in a, so problematically, if you save it in the user-defined library, I don't know if those will like save it because it deletes all of your work every time you log off. So I'm not sure what it would do, but we can, yeah, so that's there, and we could open it up, and there it is. But if we just chose to save it again, File, Save Swatches, we can save it anywhere. Right, it's having me save it in the Swatches folder of the Illustrator program file. But instead, we could save it in Documents, Bomb Pops Swatch Library, and hit Save, and then we could navigate to it instead. So go over here and choose Other Library, and it will let you navigate to your file. Of course, I've lost it. And there it is again. Okay, so that's how you're going to do that part of your homework. We're going to take a break, and when you come back, we're going to go over library resources, I guess, for you to do your cultural research homework.